What's good, YouTube? This is the only Big Green Yu-Gi-Oh! Here, back with another deck profile. And this deck profile is an Edison deck profile, and this is the Flamvell deck. And this, I believe the reason why it's called Edison, correct me if I'm wrong, is because of the tournament in New Jersey, Edison, that Jeff Jones and like Billy Brake and them guys played in. I believe that's the reason why this format is called Edison, because of that. If I'm wrong, you guys normally correct me in the comments, because like whenever I got the Heavy Storm thing wrong, you guys correct me on that. But just correct me if I'm wrong in the comments about that. Anyways, this is the Flamvell deck that took 4th place in the event. And it's not exactly the same, but it's very similar to the deck that took 4th place. The only difference from it is I don't have a Trap Dust Shoot. Well, I do have Trap Dust Shoots. It's just I don't have any extras to put in this deck. And once I get to the card, I'll let you know, hey, this should be a Trap Dust Shoot, but since I don't have it, I play it over it. Anyways, let's get right into the deck profile. You play 3 Flamvell Fire Dog because it's like, it's Flamvells. You got to play this card. It's the best Flamvell card in the game, in my opinion. And he's virtually a Blackwing the Shore. When he destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can special summon a fire monster with 200 or less defense from your deck. You play 3 Flamvell Magician. This card is your search target for the Fire Dog. His effect is irrelevant, but I'll tell it to you guys anyways. Whenever you control an Ally of Justice monster, he gains 400 attack. But normally you just summon him out. Since he's a non-tuner and he's a tuner, it's virtually a free synchro whenever you do that. Next up, you play the Gravekeeper Engine. This is the card that should be Trap Dust Shoot, but because I don't have any extras for this deck, I'm running this instead. But these are, you run the Gravekeeper Spy because they special summon out your Descendant, which you can then activate his effect to pop Spy to pop a card on your opponent's field. And then the reason why I run the Guard, out of all the monsters or out of all the cards I could have picked to replace Trap Dust Shoot with, I pretty much picked this guy because he's a 19k booty and he's a Gravekeeper for Descendant. So that's the reason why I replaced Dust Shoot with this card, because it does have synergy. I was thinking about putting Thunder King Ryo in here, but I decided not to. I decided to just go with the Guard instead, because this will have a whole lot more synergy with this deck than what Thunder King would have. Next up, you play your little Beast Engine. 3 Raikou, because he was the best monster, arguably, at this time. Some people will agree, some people probably disagree, but he's definitely up there. And then you play the Hamster to search out your Raikou. Raikou gets rid of problematic cards, because whenever he's flipped, you can destroy a card on the field and then mill 3 cards from your deck. The mill 3 is a cost, so if they negate his effect, you still have to mill 3. But once you see some of the cards in this format, I mean, Pot of Avarice was a staple in almost every deck. What's funny is Pot of Avarice wasn't ran in this deck, which I don't know why. But yeah, the mill 3 isn't really an issue. Onto your boss monsters, you play 1 Cyber Dragon because Cyber Dragon changed this game. If it wasn't for Cyber Dragon, I don't think the game would be anywhere as what it is today. So I thank Cyber Dragon, but I hate Cyber Dragon at the same time. You play 1 Goras. At the time, he was one of the only hand traps other than Gemini Imps and Karibo, and he was really busted because whenever you have no cards on your field and you would take burn damage or battle damage, you could special summon him from your hand and then create a token of the number of damage that you took, which is absolutely insanely good. 1 Chaos Sorcerer because he was only at 1, and this card, it can be a game ender sometimes, where the fact BLS was banned, so he's virtually your BLS of this format. And then 3 Kais, probably the best tribute monster at the time when this game was in the state that it was in 2010. This was probably the best tribute monster you could have. Monarchs were just amazing back then, until you know the black. What was it, like 2016, I think it was, when the structure deck came out and then Monarchs got reintroduced into the metagame as a powerful deck. But Kais acts as a Chaos Sorcerer in the way where whenever you tribute summon for him, you can banish a card on the field, and if the card you banished was a dark monster, your opponent takes 1,000 damage. You play the 1 Blackwing Gale, the Whirlwind, so that way you can go into your Armor Master in the extra deck, because Armor Master was a very hard card to out in this format. Next up onto the spells, you play 3 Rekindling, which acts as a soul charge. You can special summon as many fire monsters from your with 200 or less defense from your graveyard, and then banish them all in the end phase. So all you're doing is you're just special summoning like the fire dogs and the magicians back to make level 8 synchro plays. And then Book of Moon, you play 3 of them because this card pretty much stops your opponent from going into synchro plays. And if your opponent has something like a Kais, you can book the Kais and then kill it with like a Flamvell dog. Same thing with like the Chaos Sorcerer, book it and then run over the Sorcerer, book the Cyber Dragon, run over the Cyber Dragon. It's just ways of helping you kill things. 1 Mind Control, 1 Brain Control. They just act as a free synchro. You take their monster and then synchro with it. Or I guess you could use Brain Control to take their monster and tribute for Caius, if you would like that. Play a Heavy Storm and an MST for the last spell cards of the deck. Self-explanatory. For the trap cards, 2 Bottomless. Because when your opponent goes in for like a huge synchro play, you can instantly answer it. Or if your opponent goes to drop a Chaos Sorcerer or a Caius, you can answer that as well. To deprison, to get rid of Stardust. Or if your opponent's trying to push for game, you can deprison a monster to keep you alive. 1 Dust Tornado, because this format is... This is the way I describe this format. It's GOAT format with synchros. This format is very fun, and in my opinion, it's arguably the most skillful format other than like Dragon Ruler format and like GOAT format. I feel like this is definitely up there as the most skillful format. So cards like these you kind of have to play because you have to play around things like this. You have to play around like certain cards that your opponent would set, like Book and stuff. There's a lot of stuff you have to play around, and with Heavy Storm only being at 1, MST only being at 1, you pretty much have to run cards like this in this format. And then this should be a Trap Dust Shoots like a Power 4, but since I only have Trap Dust Shoots for other decks and I don't have any for this deck, I'm just going to call it a Power 3. Solemn Judgment, best trap card ever. Warrior Oppression, never getting unbanned, hopefully. And then Mirror Force. You guys, if you've played in GOAT format or played in formats where Mirror Force was at 1, you guys know that this card can absolutely win you the game. And then on to the extra deck. If you guys haven't noticed, back in 2010 and 2009, my deck profiles from them formats, my extra deck is virtually exactly the same as every other because there was only them synchro monsters to choose from. So your extra deck doesn't have to be like this. This is just a stepping stone to let you guys play around with your guys' extra deck. So 1 Android, a Gaia, and then a Goyo. Again, you can run more Goyos over the Gaia if you want. A Black Rose. This card is definitely needed to play in this format because Black Rose is probably one of the better synchros of this format. And same thing with Stardust, probably the best synchro of this format. A Colossal Fighter for, you know, the fact that he can get really, really big. And then, well, not in this deck he can't get really big, but in other decks like the Dandy Warrior, he can get pretty huge. And then he just has constant recursion whenever he's destroyed by battle. Thought Ruler Archfiend, because this card was nuts back then. Red Dragon for getting rid of things that like dandy tokens and stuff like that. If this card would have been around in GOAT format, holy crap, this card would have been busted. 1 Alive Justice Catastor, cause it has synergy with your Magician, which is this guy. And then a Brio, cause it's Brio. We all love Brio. And a Mistworm, cause he was like your only level 9 at the time. The Armor Master for your Gale, and then your Flamvell Synchro guy for Flamvell Synchro plays if you want to go off for that. But you don't have to have your deck like this, guys. What I did is I just net decked the event and looked at the decks that topped that event, and I pretty much tried to tune my deck towards that and then my playstyle. So you guys can do the same thing. This format is very fun. I would definitely advise you guys to build a deck from this format. Or if you guys have seen this format already and you're watching this video, you guys can let the other guys know down in the comments saying, hey, this format is actually really, really fun, and it can be really competitive at times. This has been the Only Big Green Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Johnny. And if you didn't like the video, dislike it. If you don't like my channel, unsubscribe. I'm going to be bringing more decks from this format here soon. I'm going to be bringing the Dandy Warrior, which is Jeff Jones' build. And then I'm going to be bringing the, the Doom Cow Knight build, which was Billy Break's build. And I'll see you guys later.